Hi, I'm J. Elizabeth Clark, professor of English at LaGuardia Community College. And today I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Richa Gupta, who is professor of biology, also at LaGuardia. And we're going to have a conversation about high impact practices. Welcome, Risha.
Hi, Liz. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited for this conversation with you.
Thank you for saying yes. So to get started, could you please tell me a little bit about your experience with HIPs, how you came to them, and how they influence your work?
All throughout my tenure at LaGuardia, my inner drive and passion as an educator and scientist have led me to focus on enhancing student success in STEM and health sciences and also to enrich their college experience. So for this, besides modifying my teaching strategies on my own to meet my students' needs, I also took various CTL seminars, such as the New to College seminar series for teaching first year seminar, and other seminars on next generation ePortfolio practice, and designing new assignments that catalyze creativity.
Wow,
So
that's a lot of professional development. That's a great list of professional development experiences. And for people who are outside of the LaGuardia context, they might not know what a commitment that is because those are year-long professional development seminars where you're really spending an entire academic year looking at those practices. That's wonderful.
And actually, I must just add to that that they were awesome because they provided me with an opportunity to implement new strategies in the classes I was teaching, to continuously assess and revise my assignments, overall to reflect on my teaching and get involved in pedagogical research that I had not never done earlier, besides the scientific research that I had been doing. So, after joining LaGuardia, I was pursuing two goals simultaneously outside the classes per se, on how to develop my pedagogical research projects, and CTL seminars helped a long way in that. So, with that, then back in 2018, I got involved in leading two Learning Matters mini grants in our department for implementing signature assignments in general biology 1 and 2 courses. But then subsequently in 2020, I proposed and led a new STEM learning community model called as the bio cohort model in our department. And it's been running fantastically in the last 5 years. It involves 4 classes, and it basically helped to lay like a good foundation for our biology and environmental science students in order to help them develop STEM skills right in their first semester.
So
So,
I know a little bit about that work since I have taught in those learning communities. But
mhm.
for people who are unfamiliar with them, could you tell us a little bit about the structure of the learning community and how it works? Because it's a little different than some of our other learning communities at LaGuardia.
Right. Yeah, so this was the first time that this type of a learning community was proposed, and it involved 4 classes, as I mentioned, the natural science first year seminar class with a math class, an English class, and a public speaking class, and a very careful design and combination of the course classes of the 4 classes went in it, because besides learning science concepts, it's very important for students to develop mathematical, English writing, and oral communication skills to be a successful STEM student. So we wanted to, try this model when the students are right in their first semester, so that in the subsequent semesters, when they take 200 level classes like General Bio 1 or General Chem 1, they already have a good foundation. They know in terms of science skills, how to plot a graph, how to analyze it. Why are they plotting a graph? What does a graph mean? Not just the technical part of it, but the goal with it. And then, let's say if they are doing research, how to write a research paper and present their findings to an audience. So, yeah, and this initiative has been pretty successful. But concurrently with this, I also spearheaded a second project wherein I closely collaborated with the health science program directors to try and connect our anatomy and physiology courses with the courses of the health science programs,
Oh,
4 health science
interesting.
programs actually. So I collaborated with the program directors of nursing, OTA, PTA, and therapeutic recreation programs. And we all designed new signature assignments for our courses. I coordinated interdepartmental workshops wherein we could meet, share our assignments, do assignment charrettes, provide feedback to each other. And then I also organized some departmental workshops at my end to help with department-wide implementation of a new SCB 203 signature assignment on global learning.
Oh, that's
Um,
wonderful. So you've really had a focus on the learning communities, but also on signature assignments and then providing professional development so faculty have opportunities to talk with one another about those assignments. That's
yeah.
so incredible.
Yeah, because if you are getting outcomes in a few sections, we have to communicate that information to other colleagues. How is that initiative working? And actually, the colleagues have been very, very, I would say, cooperative and very excited because, even during the tough times of the pandemic, they would join those Zoom meetings and the chair of the department then asked me to organize these workshops for professional development of our adjunct faculty also and other full-time faculty members who wanted to implement the assignment. But then since fall of 2022, the anatomy and physiology assignment has been implemented department-wide in all sections of SCB 203.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Wow.
and actually, our discussions with the health science program directors also resulted in a very well-informed decision of including this AMP assignment in the health science program's assessment maps. Uh,
Okay.
so that's how, the curriculum of AMP is getting connected with the health science programs, because after all, students who take AMP courses, these are prereqs for their health science programs. So that's why there was a need to connect the two departments, have a dialogue on how we can make the curriculum more meaningful and easy to transition for our
Yeah.
students.
And prepare students for that upward momentum as they go into their candidacy in those programs.
Right. And global learning core competency came in very handy, actually, because, if I was addressing human diseases and their prevalence across the world in AMP courses, my colleagues in the health science department, they were addressing availability of healthcare for those diseases across the world. So, it sort of helps in students' growth in the discipline then, because, okay, you got to learn, the knowledge of human health first, but then you should also do research on what's the prevalence of the diseases in the world, how to, resolve those problems if a country is having high prevalence, what are the factors leading to high prevalence, and then what is the availability of healthcare there. So how you envision to become a healthcare expert to bring down the caseload of, let's say, a disease in a particular country.
That's a
So
very rich connection. I also love how all of these examples, starting with the STEM learning communities and then working your way through the curriculum, are really so focused on helping students establish their professional identity and really thinking about as they grow into the profession, what that's going to look like. The the sequencing of assignments is really lovely. So, how have students responded to all of this? So, you've done all of this very careful, intentional design work, and we know that is a huge hallmark of HIPS, right? That the intentionality with which faculty approach this work. So, how have students responded? What have you observed? What have they told you? How has it shown up in your assessments?
So initially, with both the initiatives, I would say, because besides altering class assignments, you also implement new high impact practices in the class. So let's say you want to design some group projects or you want to do additional workshops on Zoom. So, we had to work on time management skills of the students first, how to embed that in the course curriculum. But over the course of each semester in the last 5 years for both the projects, I would say we have got very favorable responses from our students because, and sort of very mature and thoughtful reflections. Because at the end of the semester, when students write their reflections, they are like, for example, in AMP course, they would say, It really helped me in grasping the course concepts, which I was finding hard, and preparing for the final exam, but also how to synthesize knowledge for long-term retention. And that's actually a problem we face even when students transition from AMP 1 to 2, and more so when they transition from AMP to the health science program. So even the health science program directors have brought this to our attention that the retention of the knowledge has been a consistent problem. So this was very intentionally targeted, through the group presentation assignment of SEB 2 or 3, because right from the very first semester, when first I implemented it in my section, but then colleagues implemented in their sections in the subsequent years, yeah, students wrote in their reflections that I'm able to recall the concepts that I learned even in the lab, which was 5 weeks back, and they're curious to do research on diseases. So when students do research, present it, teach it to their peers, they obviously will retain the knowledge for a long time, as opposed to just preparing for an exam in anxiety and getting done with it. So for AMP, in that sense, it really helped in long-term retention of the knowledge and in developing their professional skills. Because, after all, these healthcare professions, there, the professional has to explain the diseases to the patient,
Sure.
right? Have to interact with other healthcare experts in the team, like doctors or other nurses or radiologists. So they should be able to talk about the disease, and they should be aware of the global prevalence, not just what's happening in your country, but what is the disease rate across the globe.
Yeah.
So general knowledge is also very important besides the science knowledge, and we see that over the years AMP students are honing on those skills, and many of them have actually gotten selected for the health science programs. So we see how their longitudinal growth is happening, and that's how the collaboration with the program directors of all those 4 programs came in very handy to do all that assessment.
Yeah, I also, just because I've taught in one of the STEM learning communities, I also feel like your first year seminar plays a really critical role because there are a lot of antecedents to what you're talking about here that are really set up in the student's ePortfolio and also in the seminar as because from day one, you're asking them to think about their science identity. You're asking them to engage in research and thinking like a scientist, and you're asking them to think about the role of science communication. So I think also the successes that you're having later on in the curriculum, you've also very intentionally set up with that early work to set them on this path so that when they encounter the idea of reflection later on, they're not wondering, well, what am I supposed to reflect on? They've already taken that in as a reflective practice that's important to thinking about what they've learned.
Right, and I would like to highlight here that it's not just my work in the learning community. Yes, I spearheaded that project, but then also the colleagues who collaborated with me to
Of
teach the
course.
learning community.
Yes.
Whether it was the math professor or the English professor or the public speaking class professor, because together we 4 developed an interdisciplinary and connected curriculum on a chosen theme of climate change. So we were initially all excited, to bring our expertise from our own discipline on this topic of global relevance. But then, the students also responded very well
Yeah.
because, from my end in the natural science first year seminar class, I designed some new lab experiments which are traditionally not part of an FIS class. So the students were excited that they would have some lab experience in their first semester in a 100 level class. And then they enjoyed that whole journey of doing research, collecting data, plotting the graphs, interpreting the graphs. But then also they read, for example, storybooks and novels in the English class on climate change. And you taught the one of the English classes, Liz, when we had, I think it was a different learning community on
Yeah, it
infectious
was science
diseases.
communication. So we were
Yes,
focused on science communication. And I mean, we had some real superstars in that class who
yes.
really, really dug in. And I'm so excited. I think at least five of the
Mhm.
students from that class are graduating this spring, and they're
Right.
all transferring in the sciences. So mission accomplished.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's one of the strengths of this learning community cluster. That the fact that students take 4 classes in the first semester, they are working on their credit accumulation, and there's a team of 4 professors advising them throughout the semester to stay on track for success. Because if you recollect, we had those advisement workshops with our ASAP advisors also. So I would like to give a shout out to them as well because
Absolutely. Well,
our
and there's
ASAP.
follow-up in the second semester. So it's also in some other learning community models, even at LaGuardia, it's an intensive first semester experience, but then it's kind of over and then the community disperses into the rest of the college. But in this model, the students really continue together as a cohort into that next semester. And I think the students in our learning community stayed a very cohesive group pretty much all the way through. And that
Absolutely.
really helped them.
Yeah, and one of the workshops in the learning community in the first semester was targeted on registration for classes for the next semester. So that's how, the cohort stayed, together. Most of the students stayed together in the second semester. So their 1 year retention rate is better.
Yeah,
And actually, as you mentioned earlier, many of these students graduated within 2 years.
yeah,
So they have been like very, I would say that their performance has been fantastic. And that's why we were pursuing this model, the learning community model. And it was actually then adopted for the QSTEM Academy also. So subsequent to this learning community of the bio cohort model, similar learning communities have been designed for the MEC department also, wherein with the first year seminar class, you have English and math class just to cater to more STEM students, in that department. So yeah, I think this model has been pretty impressive in terms of student results and outcomes. And also, just to share with you, I will tell you, students get more interested in research. Like
of course.
many of these
Of course.
students we taught, they would meet me in the second semester and they're like, Professor Gupta, we want to do research with you. So I think that giving them that first experience in the very first semester of, the scientific inquiry, how to plan an experiment, collect data, and present it. Because each semester, these learning community students also won awards at the Learning Community
Yes, they
Showcase.
did. Yeah,
So they enjoyed it,
yeah.
and I think they are more mindful of building up their resume. Adding like a new feather on their cap with a research internship program or some kind of a formal research undergraduate research program in their subsequent semesters. So I think
Absolutely. I
the
sorry.
yeah, so I just think that the learning community model has really helped in preparing our students for their intended STEM career and the major. Only thing is that during the time of the COVID, we were struck with this problem of low enrollment.
Sure.
And that's how, like right now, come in this coming fall, only one such learning community section is running, whereas in the past we have even run 2. So I think we'll keep working on this, to inform more students the benefits of enrolling in the program, and I hope more students make use of it.
I
Yeah.
hope so too. I also just wanted to note something that you said a little while back. One of the other things that you noted that I agree with that makes this such an important practice, as well as the other examples that you were talking about with the curriculum for your A and P students, is that you're not doing this work alone. Student success is tied to a community of faculty, staff, and peer-to-peer student interactions that are supporting the students through the process. So it's it is work that is bigger than a single classroom. And I think that's really significant that our students are getting support in so many different ways and feedback from so many different um, parts of the college that helps them stay connected and helps them be successful.
Absolutely. Yeah, it takes a village, I
That,
guess.
yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah, I was thinking it really does. It takes a village. So as we wrap up, do you have any advice that you would offer to colleagues who are thinking about incorporating HIPS into their work? You've done it so wonderfully in so many different ways in your own work. How can others learn from you?
I would say one thing is if a faculty wants to sort of employ a new pedagogical strategy or approach in the class, it's always good to start with designing a simple assignment around it, and to run it through our assignment charrette workshops that happen in the college, because they really help you address the dimensions of the core competency that you are addressing in the assignment. And I would say, when you are developing your own assignment, you are looking from the lens of your own discipline. But when you participate in the college-wide assignment charrettes, then you get feedback from colleagues from different departments, and that's just wonderful,
Yeah.
because the assignment really gets polished. And I would encourage faculty to then publish their assignments on CUNY academic works also, to share with wider community. So one such starting point is to participate in assignment charrettes. You just get more informed of what the college core competencies are and how to address them in your classes through assignments.
Right. And also
Um,
that very effective cycle of design,
yeah.
feedback, and revise, right? So, I mean, that's just something that we should all be doing and iterating in our own work.
Absolutely. And also, I would say, at the departmental levels, like I can share what's going on in the AMP project, like the way we did with the health science program directors. We conducted some interdepartment benchmark readings, wherein, after doing assignment charrettes in the initial workshops, we shared student works with each other and we assessed it together following the criteria of the college-wide benchmark readings. So that really sort of gave us a peek into how we can improve our assignments to make guidelines clearer to the students.
Okay. Yeah.
How to address different dimensions of the competency. So I would say, participating in benchmark readings also is also very, very helpful.
Yeah. And just collaborating with our colleagues and thinking about the idea of education as a shared endeavor. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And
Well,
I would say CTL seminars. That's
yes,
the third
CTL
thing.
seminars, definitely.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, any last thoughts on HIPS?
I would say HIPs are actually, in today's time, they are a necessity to incorporate them in your classes and in your courses, because they really help to develop 21st century skills in our students. Acquisition of professional skills is really needed with the knowledge of the discipline. So yeah, I'm all for them, and I really encourage my other colleagues to employ them in their classes.
That's great. Thank you so much, Risha. It was so lovely to talk to you, and thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Liz. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and have a wonderful rest of the day. Take
You
care.
too.
Bye bye.